Welcome to Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Gimel begins a different discussion, a little bit away from Rosh Hashanah. Mishnah Gimel, as you see here in the picture, discusses the Mishnah, the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. Quoting Rashi from Parashat Bo, that the first mitzvah that Hashem commanded to Bnei Israel, as He commanded it to Moshe and Mitzrayim, was the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. Herahu Levana b'chidusha. Hashem showed Moshe the moon when it was new, as we see in the first picture. And He said to him, when the moon looks like this, you will declare Rosh Chodesh. And we know that Rosh Chodesh is a mitzvah that's based on two witnesses coming and saying they saw the new moon. The Gemara tells the story that Rabbi Gamliel used to have pictures of what the new moon should look like at the time of Rosh Chodesh. And he would show it to the witnesses. If the testimony of the witnesses made sense, and the members of the Sanhedrin knew when Rosh Chodesh was supposed to be, so if it made sense according to their calculation, they would declare Rosh Chodesh. Once upon a time, they would declare Rosh Chodesh by sending flame signals all throughout the mountain, all throughout Israel. However, our Mishnah tells us about a unique circumstance when times changed and they began sending out messengers. But there were particularly 6 months where they would send out messengers. The Mishnah tells us, Al Shisha Chadashim Hashluchim Yotzim. For on 6 months, messengers were sent out to tell all of the Jewish people when Rosh Chodesh was declared. To tell people when Rosh Chodesh was declared so they can celebrate Yom Tov in its proper time. As we see in this picture, the calendar and the cycle of the Jewish calendar and the Chagim. The first time, the Mishnah tells us, was Al Nisan B'nei HaPesach. They would want the people to make sure that they knew that when Rosh Chodesh Nisan was declared. So the messengers would tell all the Jews everywhere exactly when was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. The important thing is here, not just the celebration of Pesach, but since eating chametz on Pesach is such a severe isser, is such a bad avera, and has a punishment that comes with it, they wanted people to make sure that they did not eat chametz on Pesach. So therefore they sent out messengers for the month of Nisan. The second month, which is also an indication that this Mishnah was written after the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, was the month of Av, B'nei HaTanis. As we see in the picture, Av represents Tisha B'Av, and the fire represents the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, as we see a picture of the Kotel. And they wanted people to make sure that they knew exactly when the fast of Tisha B'Av, which is the most severe of all the fast days on the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. The third one was the month of Elul. The Gemara tells us that the month of Elul was almost never 30 days. Therefore, when people would know exactly when Rosh Chodesh Elul was, they knew by definition the 30th day almost always was Rosh Hashanah. So that's why the Mishnah says, Al Elul B'nei Rosh Hashanah, as we see in the picture. Knowing when Rosh Chodesh Elul was would tell them exactly when Rosh Hashanah was. The fourth instance was, of course, the month of Tishrei itself. Besides Rosh Hashanah, we have Yom Kippur, and we have Sukkot, Simchas Torah, and all of the Chagim of Chodesh Tishrei. To make sure, Al Tishrei Mibnei Takana Tamoadot, in the month of Tishrei, so people will know exactly when all the Chagim were, to make sure people celebrated them in its proper time, they also sent messengers in the month of Tishrei. The next time was in our month, the month of Kislev, which we're celebrating today. Al Kislev B'nei Chanukah. Chag Chanukah Sameach, as the picture says. They wanted people to make sure that they celebrated Chanukah in its time. Not only Chanukah, but Ve'al Adar B'nei HaPurim. To round out the 6, they would send out messengers Rosh Chodesh Adar, or to let people know when Rosh Chodesh Adar was, so people would know when to celebrate Purim. Those were the 6 months that the messengers were sent special to let people know when Rosh Hashanah was declared, when Rosh Chodesh was declared, so they would know when to celebrate the Yom Tov properly. However, the Mishnah ends, Keshaya Beit HaMikdash Kayam. He says, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, there was one more month that was important. Yotzim Af Al Iyar, and they Pesach Katan. The Mishnah calls it Pesach Katan, but we traditionally call it Pesach Sheni. We know there is a halacha that if somebody was tamei at the time of Pesach and they could not give the korban Pesach, they had a second opportunity, which was Yud Dalet Adar, traditionally called Pesach Sheni. We even have a minhag in our time that many people eat matzah on that day. So when the Beis Hamikdash stood, and there was an opportunity to give the korban Pesach, so in the month of Iyar they would also send out messengers to let people know exactly when the month of Iyar was declared. It is interesting to note that the month that's missing, where they did not send out messengers, is the month of Sivan and the Yontiv of Shavuos. The reason for that is because since the Yontiv of Shavuos is connected to the idea of counting the Omer, and since the counting of the Omer began on the second night of Pesach until Shavuot, everyone knew if you know when Pesach was, you would know when Shavuot was. Therefore, there was no need to send out messengers in the month of Sivan. This is the essence of the third Mishnah in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. The special months that have special chagim, that Beit Din would send out messengers to let people know exactly when it was Rosh Chodesh.